Welcome back at 12 after 8 o'clock. And of course, we are, I guess, going to be talking continuously for a long, long time to come about the Lords of Darkness. So is it Eskom? Is it Ramaphosa and his government, his cabinet ministers who are all sitting on their hands? And maybe, you know what, just maybe you and I as ordinary taxpayers deserve it because we're not making our voices heard. We also, we form that 12%. Listen to this very carefully. We, you and I, are the 12% of the tax base that carries 30% of citizens in this country that receives grants. Okay? That just ain't making any sense to me. Over and above of that, it is us, the 12%, yet again, who is carrying the burden of the rolling blackouts. And of course, now come in Nersa with the 18% increase. Guess who's going to be paying for that? Okay, let's hear what David van Wyk from the Benchmarks Foundation has to say about all of this. A very good morning to you, David. Welcome to the program. Nice talking with you once again, and all the very best for 2023. Or do we not hold up much hope regarding all the best for 2023, knowing that we have major issues with the Lords of Darkness? Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and best year for your listeners and for your organization as well.
Thank you indeed. You've heard my introduction. And of course, I sound very, very, sarcastic, very cynical, very angry at how things are playing out. So let's look at the situation regarding Nersa's 18.65 tariff increase, which we do know is going to push ordinary South Africans further into poverty. And when we look at the 18.65%, at the end of the day, it's going to be way higher than that. Would I be correct in saying that?
Well, yes, I think that the 18% increase will impact on prices throughout, so we're going to pay more for everything. It will impact on the basket that we take from the shops every day, because the big retailers and so on will simply push the increase that they have to pay onto us. So there will be an increase in food prices. There will be an increase in the cost of living for ordinary South Africans as well. And the thing that really concerns me is that there is no concern for the general public in the country. It seems as if there is this drive towards profit maximization by large corporations and interests, including interests that have close associations with the government. If we look at the Nersa decision and we look at the chairperson of Nersa, Tembani Bukula, he claims that he has declared his interests before becoming chairperson of Nersa, and that he resigned from PowerX, being the chairperson from PowerX. But did he give up his shareholding in PowerX, for example? He has 2 wind farms, 3 solar farms, and he's one of 5 independent power producers that got contracts from the government to produce independent power. Now, the question that people are actually asking is his company going to be a beneficiary of this 18% increase from Eskom? Then if we look back at the history of Eskom, we look at the disastrous construction of Kusile and Medupe, both power stations which are still not running to capacity because they were so badly constructed. And yet when they were constructed, they were touted as being the answer to all our electricity problems. And then, of course, we talk about the issue of substandard coal going into the existing derelict power stations that are busy falling apart at the moment. And the reason why substandard coal is going in there is because all the best coal is being exported from the country, basically to Europe with this conflict going on with Russia in Ukraine, and there's a power crisis in Europe at the moment, and so they're buying up all the coal that they can find on the planet, and our coal included. So Eskom gets the worst coal, while the best coal goes to that consumer that can pay more for coal than anyone else, and that's of course the European Union, and not South African buyers, and not Eskom certainly. So there's a number of factors that are involved here. If they, for example, use the money that they used for the construction of Kusile and Medupe, and we opposed that even before they started. We had a conference with the World Bank and also the IMF and European financiers of those two power stations, where we said to them, don't finance these projects, rather finance a transition to alternative energy. You could have put solar panels on every single roof in the country, instead of building those two power stations with the money wasted on them. They are way behind their time schedules. They are 3-4 times over budget. And this is what we are paying for. We are paying for loans that were entered into the past. We are also paying for diesel that coal-fired power stations are running on because they can't get decent coal in the country.
A very, very gloomy picture being painted by you, David van Wyk, from the Benchmarks Foundations. How do we get ourselves out of this mess? I was just on my way to work this morning, listening to another radio station, and a couple of callers were suggesting that they've recently been to Maputo, and because of the Chinese being there, they are ramping up the infrastructure in Mozambique. What the three callers did indicate is that they didn't come across any potholes driving through Maputo and other parts of Mozambique, and they have an absolutely uninterrupted power supply. And guess where it's coming from? Eskom is supplying them power. Now, how come our neighbors can get this uninterrupted power supply and we are left in the dark and our economy is almost on its knees?
Well, I think there are two issues here. The first thing is that Cabora Bassa belongs to Eskom, which is the big dam in the north of Mozambique.
Right.
Now, that big dam, if you develop the north bank of that dam, can supply all the electricity that we need, but no one wants to do that because everyone wants to make money out of coal. The second thing is that the Chinese have also helped the Zambians to release themselves from the grip that Eskom has on even the Zambian power supply by building new dams in the north of Zambia. Well, clearly the relationship that they are having, we are a member of BRICS, but somehow we don't make use of our membership of BRICS to utilize the kind of support that we can get from a country like China, which is also very active in Kenya and so on, fixing the roads, making sure that there's electricity supply, making sure that there is reasonable development. Now, within our context, we just borrow more and more money for more and more diesel and so on. But again, we need to make a transition to alternative energy, but not the transition that the ANC government wants, which is to make more corporations more powerful and wealthier because senior ANC members have 27% shareholding in these companies. You can actually, if you solarize a town like Soweto, for example, you can make every household a net seller of electricity back into the national grid. And these households have high levels of unemployment, and they can suddenly have an income and electricity that they supply to themselves, selling the surplus back into the national grid. The government doesn't want to hear about that at all as a potential solution, because it will take power away from the corporate independent power producers and give power to ordinary people. You know, the slogan, Amandla Awetu, power to the people, is one that the ANC can shout but can never actually execute.
Absolutely. A sad state of affairs. And what ought we be as ordinary South Africans to do in a situation like this? This scenario cannot carry on as it is. And just coming back to one of the comments you made regarding coal that government want, it seems like they do want us to continue tapping into our coal reserves in the country. A couple of other energy experts that I've been talking with over the past while have also indicated that South Africa is rich in coal and can supply our needs and international needs for at least another 100 or more years going forward. But is that the answer? Is that viable?
No, it's not. It's not viable at all. First of all, the coal belongs to private companies. The private companies sell to the highest bidder. The highest bidder is Europe at the moment. So the coal won't come to South Africa. Simple as that. It's simple market logic. Unless the government nationalizes the coal, which the government never will do because senior members of the government are all shareholders in the coal companies. So that will cut off their income if the coal is nationalized and used for local consumption within the South African context. The second thing about South African coal, of course, is that it's very dirty. When you talk about air pollution and things like that, you've got thousands of people dying every year as a result of inhaling the dirty air in the coal mining belt, in Mpumalanga. Now, Gwede Mantashe says that there are 10 towns that will go out of business if you stop coal. But if you convert those towns into the places where you produce alternative energy technology, you can retain those particular jobs. And the grid is already there in any case, and you can use the land of the old coal mines to put solar and so on in place of where the coal mines were. Now, they don't want to hear about that particular option either. And you can create quite a large number of jobs. At the moment, we've got more than 90% of the world's manganese. And manganese is absolutely important in terms of the manufacture of alternative energy technology. We are exporting it at such a rapid rate that soon we won't have any manganese left. And where will the manganese go? It will go to other countries that will produce the technology for alternative energy, and we will have to buy that back at a very expensive rate.
What a mess. What a mess. My final question to you, David van Wyk, and that is, we're hearing that Eskom is going to be run or managed by the Department of Minerals and Energy. Is that a good idea?
Well, I don't think so, because we can see the mess in mining already. That department is not carrying out its responsibilities in terms of the Minerals, Petroleum and Resource Development Act with regard to the pollution of water, the destruction of land, air pollution and other things. It is not enforcing compliance with the law of big corporations. Again, because senior people in the African National Congress have shareholding in the mining companies. And until we stop this revolving door between government and, political parties and private mining business and so on, we're not going to get out of the mess. We're just going to get deeper and deeper into it. And like I always say, you can't dig yourself out of the hole.
Absolutely. It looks like Gwede Mantashe wants to get his dirty paws onto more and more of the country's resources. So it's really a wait and see situation for us poor South Africans. David van Wyk, lead researcher at Benchmarks Foundation. Thank you indeed for your insights into the issue this morning at Keep the Lights On. Thank you indeed. Go well. And let's just pray collectively that our situation does improve.
I hope so. Thank you.
It is exactly 26 after 8 o'clock. News and views right here on Salam Media. My name is Julie Ali. Please do keep me company for the next 2 hours. Do stand by. We're going for an ad break. And when we get back, we're still onto this issue regarding rolling blackouts.